How are you and welcome to our today's lesson. Our today's lesson we shall be looking at the egg white. But before we look at this, I would like us to remind ourselves of what we learned previously. During our previous lesson, we learned about, or else we introduced ourselves to the parts of the egg. And the very first part of the egg that we looked at was the shell, which is now the outer covering of the egg. I would like us to remind ourselves one or two laws of the shell of an egg as we indicated that day. One, we said that the shell gives the egg its shape. That is one law of the shell that we gave. And again, we also said that the shell gives protection to the inner content. Those are some of the laws of the shell that we look at. And after the shell, we also look at the shell membrane. The shell membrane, whereby we said again, immediate after the shell, it is the shell membrane, and some of the functions of the shell membrane is one, to hold. It holds the inner content. It holds the inner content, and two, the shell membrane again, it gives protection to the inner content. Protection to the inner content. These are some of the roles of the shell membrane. Today we shall go direct into the egg whites. After this, not just the egg white for us, these other two parts. Now, what is the egg white? The egg white, it is also called the abdomen. The egg white, this is the part which surrounds the yolk and it boils it. What do we mean? Surrounding it surrounds the yolk, and again, more than surrounding the yolk, it boils it. What does this mean, boil? This is the end, or else it enhances the fruiting ability of the yolk, such that the yolk has the ability to remain at the central part of the egg and not moving to any of the sides. That is what it means by boils. Then after that, the yolk, it serves as a food reserve for the developing chick, or else the lure of the egg white, it is a food storage. That the chick, right from the very first day when incubation starts, the chick which is developing needs some food. That means they can either require some vitamins, the proteins. All these food materials are being supplied from this part, the egg white. Then within the egg white, or else the egg white itself is divided into four major parts as indicated in this part. Okay, we are looking at the part of the egg white, and the egg white, we have seen it is divided into four major parts. The first part is the callus. We have the second one, the thin abdomen, the second, the thick abdomen, and also the last we have the calciferous abdomen. These are the four major parts which makes the egg white. From here now, let me just make a simple sketch for you so that you can be able to interpret them well, or also see in a diagram how these parts appear. Okay, we have seen the parts of the egg white. We seen the callus, thin abdomen, thick abdomen, and also the calciferous abdomen. Of all these, the diagram here represents now the part that is the callus. The callus. Within the callus, we have the various parts, or else the callus, which is the central part within the egg. It has the various parts as indicated in this diagram. One, we have this part here which is called the germinal disc. We have the thin inner abdomen. We have the callus itself. We have the outer thin abdomen. We also have the calciferous membrane, which is indicated here. We have the thick abdomen, and also at this part, or else within The broader part, we have the air space. Then after this, then let's try to ask, or else even before that, I would like you, during your revision moment, you ask ourselves, why is it that the jam spot is always facing up? I mean this, in your free time as you are trying to conduct the revision, find out why is it that the jam spot, it is always allowed to be facing upwards and not downwards or else sideways. Then immediately from here, let us now look at the yolk. Okay, the other part of the egg which we need to look at is the yolk. We have already looked at the egg white, the shell membrane, and also the shell. At this point, we look at the yolk. Now, what is the yolk? In case you are presented with an egg, you break it at the inner part. Once you are, can you be able to identify which is the yolk? What can you see so that you say this is the yolk and this is the egg white? The yolk is yellow in color and also spherical in shape. We are saying the yolk is yellow. It is yellow in color. That means in case you break an egg, the yellow part which you see, this indicates the yolk. And again, this yolk is spherical. Spherical in shape. That means it is like kind of a sphere. It is represented in that shape. Then after there, or else even before we move from there, within the yolk, the developing chick is able to get vitamins, fat, mineral salt, and also the protein. We are saying within the yolk, the food which is being stored here, we have, for instance, the vitamins, we have the vitamins, proteins, and fats, among others. This is some of the food reserves which are being stored within the yolk, and all these, they are being for the necessity of the chick. Okay, the other part which we are going to look at is the airspace. We have already looked at the other part, for instance, the shell membrane, the yolk, and also the egg white. At this point, I would like us to look at the airspace and even the functions of the airspace. Once you look at the egg, in case I'm saying, in case you are presented with an egg, you see this being the shape of the egg, for instance, you can see this is the broader part. It is within the broad part whereby we have the airspace. For instance, we can have a simple sketch like this one. This is what we are calling the airspace. This is the airspace which is being allocated at the broader part of the egg. Now, why is it that we have the airspace within an egg? The law or else the functions of the airspace. The airspace is to enable or else to enhance that there is that free exchange of gases within the egg, mainly during the incubation period. That is the most time when the smart exchange of gases is required within the egg. And even without the incubation, still there is that exchange of gases within the egg, because again we said within the shell we have some pores. We have some pores, but majorly at this point we have now that space which is left, which enhances the exchange of gases. We have sent to allow gaseous exchange. Then gaseous exchange within the egg. That is another function of the air space within the egg. In a brief bit, I would like you to be able to review what you have learned within this section. For instance, you should be able to know what is a shell. We also have the shell membrane. We have the egg white. We have the callus, the yolk, and also the airspace. Once you are presented with an egg, ensure that you are able to highlight all these parts and also discuss them completely. Otherwise, thank you very much. We shall proceed next time from there.